In fact, if we assume that radicalism, so defined, is when someone supports or does action to terrorize a civilian population, a non-combatant population, then tell me how Israel is absolved from being terroristic or radical from that perspective.
Ooh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Without further ado, let's get right into the reaction.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ben Shapiro is an American journalist who panders to the neoconservative movement in America, the alt-right movement, and who has been refuted many times by myself. Many times. I don't know how many views it's all raked up now. Hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million views. I don't know. But we keep slapping him online, and he keeps taking and absorbing the slaps. And I say continue. I'm going to give you another one today. Get your face ready. Get your cheeks ready. I'm going to slap you again today. I'm going to slap you again. And yeah, you can try and reply. Because recently he tried to retweet something which had me in the pro-Palestinian march, saying that for us as Muslims, life begins at death, which is probably the least controversial statement any religious person can make. Almost every religious person believes that life begins at death. And yes, of course, I was talking about the Palestinian struggle. You think this is some kind of golden bullet? Is this your fight back? After hundreds of thousands of views, arguments upon arguments, attack upon attack, intellectual assault upon intellectual assault, this is what you try and respond with? How embarrassing. How absolutely embarrassing. What I want to do in this video today is outline 3 main points. Looking at his tweets and looking at his behavior, especially with the Palestine-Israel conflict, it's very clear that Ben Shapiro wants to promote a culture of censoriousness, a gag culture, where he tries to alienate and ostracize those who go against the standard narrative, the standard pro-Israeli narrative. And it's really ironic that he of all people does this, being a spokesperson or pundit for neoconservatives, using freedom of speech as some kind of pretext for refuting and dismantling the transgenders and the feminists and others on the left. But when it comes to the state of Israel, he acts just like those people who he criticizes. He starts labeling people as anti-Semitic. In fact, he tries to confuse and conflate anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism. And he even says that there's a point of convergence between the two things. Let's see what he has to say on these matters.
There's a point where being anti-Israel shifts over into being anti-Semitic. Okay, the conflation between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. Not everybody who doesn't like Israel is an anti-Semite, but every anti-Semite is anti-Israel.
So you see here, this is
Yo, this is a side thing, but y'all remember when I said that Ben Shapiro sounds like Sheikh Fahad Taslim?
Ramadan, we promised to record and publish 10 courses on our learning platform, of which you are now seeing unseen.
Astaghfirullah, bro. But if you really think about it, like, they sound almost identical to me.
Threat. A threatening behavior of, I will label you if you don't agree with my narrative. This is pathetic. Use your label. Use your label. Go ahead. Do your worst. We're not scared of your label. Calling us anti-Semites when in fact we are Semites. I'm a Semite myself. Arabs are Semites and Arabic is a Semitic language. At any rate, you can call me whatever you like. This does not change the fact that you have not been able to answer a single argument that has been made. And do you know what else you have not been able to do? You have not been able to make one singular, solitary condemnation of the 66 children that have been killed in cold blood by the policies of the Israelis that you defend. Now, you may remember some time ago, you made a video talking about the Muslim radical myth. And you talked about the Muslim moderate myth, or I can't remember what you named the title. But you were basically making the point that all of these Muslims are following Sharia law or believe in it, and therefore there is this many radicals and Muslim radicals in the world. What kind of ridiculous notion is that? In fact, if we assume that radicalism, so defined, is when someone supports or does action to terrorize a civilian population, a non-combatant population, then tell me how Israel is absolved from being terroristic or radical from that perspective.
Ooh.
And how your support for Israel in its targeting of civilian populations is not itself a type of radical reflection.
I just want to say something before y'all go in. And what I want to say is prepare yourselves because Rami's about to go in. That's it.
Wow, subhanAllah. Honestly, I don't really have much to add. I mean, Ben Shapiro is someone who he just talks really fast and with a very annoying voice, and it just really gets to you. Maybe it messes with like the neurons in your head, so you can't really think. Just to elaborate on what the brother was saying, Israel is a state that has actual laws against the Palestinian people, actual laws. And this is something that I've actually read into. I've read the laws. They have certain very, very specific laws to literally undermine them. They have a difference in terms of their citizenship. If you're Palestinian, if you're Israel, if you're Israeli, they have certain blockades in the road, certain roads that Palestinians are allowed to take. This is so specifically and clearly racist. This is so specifically and unequivocally a situation where people are being ethnically cleansed. Students, kids are being murdered on their way back from school. And he wants to call people who believe in Sharia law radicals. How is Israel not radical? Israel's very clearly radical, even from the definition that Ben Shapiro gave. Because if it is, a Jewish state that has conservative Jews, well, conservative Jews, they believe in punitive laws, capital punishment, stoning to death, and all of that stuff. So actually Mohammed Hijab was saying this in his video originally. Are these conservative Jews also radical? Are you a conservative Jew? Are you a radical in that sense? And what about everything that Israel is doing? It makes no sense at the end of the day. They're completely radical from his perspective. So I don't see how he can be a complete hypocrite.
All I gotta say is, Ben Shapiro, man, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not gonna say anything that I haven't already said. If you guys haven't seen our video, our thoughts on Palestine, check that out. I'm gonna pin it up there, where we went deeper into this issue, and we know one thing: not to throw shade on them. We're not anti-Jew, but when I say this, I'm trying to say that most of the followers of the Dajjal will be women and Jews. I'm not too deep into looking into Jewish texts and reading the Torah and all that, but I know for a fact that they do believe that the Dajjal is going to be, someone that they believe is going to come. It's like someone they're going to follow. Rami, do you know what I'm talking about?
So when it comes to the Jews, as far as I know, they believe in a Messiah. They don't believe like Christ, basically, not Jesus Christ, but Messiah. They don't believe in an anti-Messiah or an anti-Christ. So when this guy comes and he says he's Jesus, he's the Messiah, they're going to follow him as if he is the Messiah they've been waiting for. But even the Christians should know, and the Muslims as well, even the Christians should know that these people are that he and his followers are just the Antichrist, because we actually believe in the Antichrist.
Yeah, 100%. So guys, one last thing I had to say is boycott Israel. That's it. I know. What about you?
Isn't Esau coming down? That he was. What do you say after the other ones? That he was sending.
Isa alayhi salam?
Isa alayhi salam. Isn't he coming down, or isn't he like coming back?
He's coming after Imam Mahdi's time.
I believe it's Imam Mahdi comes because he's a minor sign, not a major sign. Then the Dajjal comes because the scholars say he's the first in the major signs. And then Isa alayhi salam comes and kills him. I don't know if there's major signs in between that, but in terms of those three, Mahdi,
And I
Dajjal,
believe Dajjal kills Imam Mahdi, right?
perhaps. I mean, the scholars, it's ambiguous. The scholars say that what
Mm.
happens is during Imam Mahdi's time, Isa alayhi salam will come after Dajjal, and sometime between Jesus coming and the Mahdi being here and all of that, somewhere in between that, the Mahdi will die and Jesus will take over. We don't know how he dies, though.
Yeah, subhanallah. I don't know where are you going with that.
I was just asking because you had said that the Jews are gonna take this person who supposedly the Messiah, as the Messiah, when in reality it's gonna be the deceiver. You said it was Isa that you were sending. So I was just wondering, you know. But other than that, I feel like what's being spoken about is out of my scope of expertise. So like, I can't say much without sounding like an ignorant. So I won't say much then.
I know one thing you can agree with, Anil, is people think that, Dajjal is gonna come like millions of years later, bro, and we have forever to live, and the end is not near. But one of the things that I find fascinating is Angel reverted, about a year ago, and the amount of times he's been telling us and reminding us, bro, the end is near, the end is near, and the fact that he's cognizant and aware of that. So wouldn't you say that to be true, bro?
Yeah, bro. Time is running out.
Hmm.
It's in
All right.
Surah Al-Asr.
Hmm.
All right.
Why does Rami look so serious, bro?
I'm ready to get back to the video, man. I'm ready to
Okay.
see the Jamal Ben Shapiro.
No, we're not doing the last part. That's what we're doing.
Oh, that's it? That's it? Okay, khalas. If that's it, then I have something I want to read.
Go for it.
Inshallah. So a while ago, I actually put this little thing together. It's not finished. I didn't finish it, but it's like a case against Israel. So I have different things like the violations of international law, entitlement to rights and equality for all people, war crimes, lies and unwillingness to comply, and even Canada and America's complicity in all of it. So just in the first section, it really, like, subhanAllah, like it's unending in terms of their disgusting behavior and their disgusting beliefs. If you look at Article 2 of the International Bill of Rights, it talks about how everyone's entitled to equal and fair rights and freedoms, set forth in the entire declaration of international freedom and all that, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or another opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or another status. So they won't be discriminated based on those things. And then if you look at Israel as a whole and how they treat the Palestinian people, and it goes through other articles and different things. I'm not going to mention them now, but this is basically what I wrote. So the committee reiterates this is based on the UN when they went into Israel. This is the department of the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and they state in their findings, and this is a very recent report, I believe, that that no general provision for equality and the prohibition of racial discrimination has been included in the basic law.
Bruh.
Human Dignity and Liberty, 1992. So that's the basic law is literally the name of the law that Israel put forth, which serves as the state party's Bill of Rights. So in the Bill of Rights, there's no provision for equality and no prohibition of racial discrimination in the basic law from 1992. While the prohibition of discrimination appears in several specific laws in a fragmented way, this is the way of getting around it. It's a very fragmented, be good to them, like very little bit here and there. It is not contained in a comprehensive law, which would encompass a definition of racial discrimination in line with Article 1 of the Convention, Articles 1 and 2. The committee recommends that the state party amend its basic law, Human Dignity and Liberty, to explicitly incorporate the principle of equality and the prohibition of racial discrimination, and adopt a comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation that includes a definition of racial discrimination covering all grounds of discrimination, in line with Article 1 of the Convention, and encompass direct and indirect discrimination in both the public and private spheres. And that's just not even the first page.
There's a lot of people we could pin the blame on, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole approach that people saying that, oh, the Muslims, the Ummah has become weak, we're not making dua, we're not working on our ibadah, this is why this is happening. A lot of other people are blaming Muslim leaders for not speaking up. What do you think? I want to ask both of you this question. What do each of you think the main predominant influencing factor is, in your opinion?
Anghel, you want to take it?
You first, bro.
The main predominant reason, Allahu Alam, I don't know why they decided to give Palestine and make it Israel back in like after World War II and everything. I don't know why they decided to do that. They decided to do that. Whether it's against the Muslims or just for the Jews, Allahu Alam, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. To me, now it's just about politics. It's just about economic power. It's about America having a friend that big, that powerful in the Middle East, in the middle of everything, basically. Deep in the Middle East, a super big power that if they were to go to war, it's basically nice to have, power there. It's nice to have the U.S. Embassy there and all of that stuff as well. And such a place of importance as well. Of course, they're going to want, their hands on it. But it's just a strive for power. And they know to keep that power, they can't stop Israel from doing what they want to do with the Palestinians. And if they were truly for liberty and freedom and freedom from racial discrimination and prejudice and hate and all of that stuff, and everyone's born free, then the main two people they'd go for is North Korea and Israel. Those are the two main people they would be going after to try and get equal rights. They wouldn't be going to the Middle East and attacking these people because, frankly, people in Islam, the women in Islam got rights before the women in the UK. And when I say that, I don't just mean that Islam existed before the UK. I mean that even 400 years ago in the UK, they didn't have basic laws for women, as far as I know. Women in Islam were treated much, much better 1400 years ago in terms of having property and all of that. And if it's not the UK, then forgive me, it might be in the US or somewhere else. Allahu Alam. But Islam gave the women these basic freedoms, but Israel can't even give that to Palestinian people as a whole. Basic freedoms. And this is really bad if you guys look into it. It's literally they're being deprived of electricity. Their houses are being demolished. Graveyards with loved deceased ones are being demolished for an amusement park, a theme park. They're gonna put roller coasters and stuff up there. SubhanAllah, may it be the most cursed theme park in existence. It's disgusting, it's vile. But at the end of the day, if the U.S. is really, for freeing and liberating these people who are oppressed, they go after North Korea and they go after Israel. But we see that they're not after that. They're after resources, the natural resources, the oil, and all of that. And just as a side note, there was one king of Saudi Arabia who refused to give the U.S. oil. He refused to sell the U.S. oil, and the U.S. had a horrible economic crash because of that. So I guess after that, they were never again, we're going to go steal it for ourselves. And then that's literally what they did afterwards. They just happened to go free these Muslims and all this stuff. And while they were there, create different groups, different terrorist organizations, like the Taliban, and what the Taliban stems from, which was another group. So, I mean, it's really deep and it's really unfortunate. At the end of the day, we see who the clear oppressors are and who the clear victims are in these cases.
Mm-hmm. I think you said it perfectly, bro. I think we should end the video off there.
All right, Faiyads. Anything else?
That's all I have to say, bro.
All right. With that being said, may Allah free Palestine and punish the oppressors. Allahumma atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
We got a Patreon. If you guys don't know what Patreon is, it's a site where we post exclusive content that never airs on YouTube, and we also post content early that does air on YouTube.
If you like the content that we're putting out here, you want that more in-depth content, more personal, more real stuff that we can't put on YouTube, then go ahead and head over to our Patreon. It's pretty much free if you think about it. The lowest tier is $5. Break that up between 30 days. How much is that?
16 cents a day.
That's
15 cents a day.
guys. Come on. We're not trying to gain anything really from this. It goes to the Masjid Fund. We also give to Sadaqah, we give to charity. And if we truly need a little bit for our bills or just something for our means, for food or something along those lines, that's where we might use it. But for the most part, like this is all for the sake of Allah here. So whatever you pay, Allah is going to give you back and then some.
We've been making free content, and it does take a lot of work. Like, people don't realize how much work it takes to sometimes do daily uploads, a new video every day. It does take a lot of work. So essentially, you guys do help support the channel, help keep us going, help us propagating the deen of Allah.
When we record Patreon videos, like Patreon videos are when the realest of the real in us come out. Because we're not thinking about like, oh, this can go on YouTube. I can say this word, I can't say that word. We are as clear cut, as specific, as unfiltered as we need to be, you know, as Muslims as we should be, alhamdulillah, very straight to the point. And you'll see like videos with me and Faiyads and Anghels, they're just so real on Patreon. And I think that's what the Muslim Ummah needs. And if you need, you know, real brothers that are willing to have real conversations with you, hit that Patreon up.
Because if you guys think that our channel is real and you're talking about YouTube, then just imagine what Patreon could do for you, inshallah. Consider becoming a member, link in the description. Take your life to the next level, inshallah. And we'll see you on the other side.